a massive Minnesota Wild trade update has just dropped, and it is absolutely sickening. We're going to be breaking down this report, going over Vincent Trocheck, who has been named in this deal. However, the bad side of things come when it gets to the Minnesota Wild side of things. So we're going to be breaking this down, going over how this can make sense, but one thing in specific that the Minnesota Wild need to be extra cautious about when facilitating a deal like this. And with this report dropping and things that have dropped from the New York Rangers side of things in specific over the past couple of days, there is a very likely chance that this will continue to drop with more updates over the coming days. So be sure to stick around because we're going to be covering all of this here over this weekend as going on until a move is made. Now, before we do jump into the remainder of the news that we do have here today, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. When you download Kalshi using the link below and entering the partner code DIGESTNHL, you'll get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the US, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, pretty much everything. They have you covered. And whether you're in California, Texas, or Minnesota, like the majority of Wild fans, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. For sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, player performances, playoff chances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out. But that's not it. It's also points, goals, assists, rebounds in every single sport. You really have to check it out with the sheer amount of things they have. Now, looking at the Wild, the Western Conference Finals winners, we know the Wild are still here trailing with this. Getting close to some more moves that are going to climb them up this list, but with Vegas now acquiring Rasmus Andersson and Colorado still being elite, it's a very good chance to trade yes on the Wild, making this Western Conference final. But also on top of that, with the college football playoffs ongoing and the finals here tomorrow, Indiana is a 75% chance to win this game, and I'm trading yes on Fernando Mendoza taking home this win. So it genuinely is a smarter way to use your sports and news knowledge, and you can close position whenever you want. So be sure to go download Kalshi using the link below, and don't forget to use the partner code DIGESTNHL just like you see on your screen to get a $20 bonus. And thank you to Kalshi once again for sponsoring this video. Now, I want to get straight into this because this is absolutely insane to look at. Puck Empire tweeted this out, but there is a few more sources, so just wait one moment. Hearing from a source that the Minnesota Wild really like Vincent Trocheck ahead of the deadline. It's a good center could add. Very good possibility. However, and this is where things to me just blew my mind when I read this. The potential package could include one of Charlie Stramel or Danil Yurov and a future first-round pick. This is crazy. Now, they say nothing is close, but no guarantee, but Minnesota has liked him for a while. So that is something that we've seen a little bit of. Vincent Trocheck and the Wild, we've seen that link before. However, putting Danil Yurov in this deal is absolutely mind-boggling, mainly because one reason that we've seen this Wild team comfortably able to acquire Quinn Hughes is how much Bill Guerin has trusted Danil Yurov. There's zero chance. I don't know who reported this initially, who came out with this, but Puck Empire put this out with a few other Ranger sources kind of coming out with all of this. They're not getting Danil Yurov with a first. They're not getting Yurov by himself. They're not getting Yurov regardless. That is one thing that I think is 99.99% confirmed. Second of all, how many first-round picks do the Wild have? Very, very few. I don't see another realm of possibility where the Wild go out here and trade another first-round pick for Vincent Trocheck, someone who's solid, but is not worth what this package is showing. And Charlie Stramel, a guy that you guys know I love here. He is someone that, especially in these coming seasons, is likely, and I'm going to be willing to say this, the most interesting prospect for the Wild due to how much of a leap he has taken with Michigan State this year. And going into the next season, which could possibly be a Wild, NHL start, I'm very hesitant to trade him as well. So those are three pieces that I think are just genuinely insane to include in a deal. Now, David Pagnotta also had come out with this yesterday, saying that one team that's been circling was the Wild. That's the extent of what he said. He did not include Danil Yurov. He did not include Charlie Stramel, which this, to me, makes a lot more sense. The Wild have a lot of prospects that they can move and would be willing to move over the two that have been mentioned here. The Rangers, I think, and I would likely assume that this came from a Rangers source due to how due to the nature, I guess is a better way of putting it, of how this trade sounds. Nobody that knows the Wild, nobody that has been around the Wild for a long time would even consider discussing those three assets here in this case. And even though Vincent Trocheck is an option that could be good, and I mean, you look at him right here, he is a guy that only in his career has, put up 70 points once, gone to a 64, and that's the extent of it. 59 last year, was on pace for another good season this year. He is someone that, when you're looking at it and comparing it to the assets that are given up, it's a much lopsided deal for the Rangers. There's no doubt about that. So, regardless of if there is interest in this in Vincent Trocheck with the Wild, I can almost guarantee there absolutely would be. He's a very good centerman. He is someone that can certainly fill in any given scenario and is on a very cheap price at $5.6 million for 3 more seasons, including this year. He would be a very good player in structure-wise, in play-wise, to add to this Wild team who are looking for more center depth, having Daniil Yurov, Eriksson Ek, Trocheck in this case, and what could be Ryan Hartman, moving Hartman to the wing, or Nico Sturm. That's a very good option and would really round out what the Wild are looking for on the center. But once again, if it comes back to this price tag, there's zero chance you would even see the Wild consider this, with especially Yurov. I think that's the one that, to me, completely takes out any possibility. I can see a future first. I can see Charlie Stramel, even though I would be very hesitant with what would be added to that and kind of getting the value that we just saw from that Rasmus Andersson trade. Similar scenario with Calgary, getting rid of some guys that they likely won't see next year. It is a very interesting side of things, and it really seems like the Rangers are trying to take advantage and really trying to put and push the emphasis on his price tag being higher due to his production, which still is not necessarily amazing, and his contract. Those really seem to be the two moving factors here for them in this case. But looking at the offense, like I said, Hartman currently playing here the first line center last game, going with Eriksson Ek on the IR. Yurov, Haight, Sturm. They have options. They have lots of options that can jump in here at center. Still not necessarily the depth that they would want with, now Rossi being gone, Ogren being gone in that trade to acquire Quinn Hughes. They want to make sure, and once again, provide Quinn Hughes the information that they're going all in, and this would seem like the player to do it, but once again, you have to be hesitant with what you're trading, because even though you kind of are going all in at this point, and that's what Bill Guerin has really emphasized and shown to this team and the rest of the NHL, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. After signing Kirill Kaprizov to this massive extension, you can't get rid of Yurov. You can't really get rid of some other of the big names that can stick around and make sure you're keeping this team afloat, even if Quinn Hughes does not re-sign. So this is a deal where immediately the first reports off the rip, I'm not liking, especially with how Charlie Stramel's been playing as of late. For one example, Daniil Yurov being the future number one center for this team, likely, and that's how Bill Guerin feels. And a first-round pick, which the Wild don't have very many of them. So I like the idea of Trocheck. Don't get me wrong. And I want to know what you guys think about this as well. But those three assets, that's a very hard thing to give up right away. I think that you can get a much, more mediocre center for a much cheaper price than someone who is going to be 35 when the contract expires, who's not necessarily the greatest production center-wise, for way, way, way more assets, and even on the price tag on no, that's good. I think there's much better options. So I want to know what you guys think about this, because this really caught me off guard with the asking price for the Rangers. But let me know what you think about this deal, specifically Trocheck, and sprinkle in how you think about Yurov and Charlie Stramel on that first, but what you would give up here in exchange over those guys. So let me know what you think here. We're going to have a lot more videos coming out about this. This is not going to be something that is going to be a one and done. This is going to be ongoing for, I would say, the next couple of weeks ahead of the Olympics before we get to the actual trade deadline in March. So we're going to keep you guys up to date with everything going on here in this situation. Crazy times ahead for the Minnesota Wild, but also the NHL, so you won't want to miss it. Be sure to hit the sub button, but that's all I got. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.